song.
What?
Your theme song. It's your theme song. Yeah.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I am Gwen Harshaw, and this is the Spin with Gwen show. I am so excited to be here, and I'm so excited for my guest. I'm going to be talking with John Esterly, the founder of the Pumpkin Peddler, which is an amazing organization, and they're doing wonderful things in the autism community. I do want to take a quick moment for a word from our sponsor. I want to tell you guys a little bit about Royal Property Real Estate Services. At Royal Property Real Estate Services, they offer a wide variety of those services. They help first-time home buyers navigate the tricky real estate and mortgage process. They offer home remodeling and rehabilitation services. They also provide consulting for various facets of real estate, including investment properties. For more information, call Royal Property Real Estate Services at 614-859-7542. Or you can also visit them on the web at www.royalpropertyent.com. So, thank you, John, for joining me. I'm so excited to talk about all the things you're doing. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Gwen. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Wonderful. Well, if I didn't mention it before, we're obviously here to talk about the Pumpkin Peddler.
Absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit more what's going on with that?
Well, the Pumpkin Peddler is a urban bicycle tour. It's held this year, Sunday, October the 28th, and we'll be starting at noon in Franklinton. And basically, it's about a 15-mile ride. It's very casual, so you don't need to be a professional cyclist or anything to participate. And we visit local shops throughout Columbus. That's part of the ride. And then we'll be finishing up in Franklinton as well. And we're going to have some music at the end by someone you know very, very well.
That's right, Blue Spectrum. So it sounds like a lot of fun, but there is a purpose to this. Basically, the proceeds from this ride, they fund advocacy for autism awareness, education, and research, correct?
That's absolutely right.
Okay, and you've been doing this for how long now?
This will be our 4th year. We started in 2015, and we've seen growth year over year, and we're excited and hoping to see our best turnout yet.
That is awesome. I am so excited. It's so much fun, but it also has a wonderful purpose. I want to catch people up on some specifics about autism. It is a growing issue in our community. In fact, the recent statistic from the CDC said 1 out of 59 children are diagnosed being somewhere on the autism spectrum, and that's kind of shocking. And I think the fundraising is so important because early intervention and therapies are just vital for this. If you don't mind, can you tell me a little bit about your story and what got you thinking about working in the autism community?
Absolutely. We were brought into the autism community in the middle of 2014, so about 4 years ago. Our oldest, our daughter, was diagnosed on the autism spectrum at that point, and as we kind of went through the experience of being autism parents and getting to know about what it takes and what you need to do as a parent, we decided that we wanted to do something to raise a little bit of awareness and raise a little bit of money as well and give back to the community. So
getting that diagnosis, or quite frankly any kind of medical diagnosis or crises, can be so overwhelming. A lot of people kind of isolate themselves. What do you think it did that, what do you think happened that helped you reach out beyond yourselves to help others as well after that diagnosis?
Really, for us, it was just fact-finding and trying to learn more about autism and about the community, and getting to know folks like yourself and Jean, and then Amy and Tom Hess, who are also very involved in the autism community. They were, I look at those two couples as
Right, that is absolutely vital. And your event is a lot of fun. It's very enjoyable, but it serves so many purposes. And one of the things I don't think people often think about is just the community, meeting other people who are very informed about autism And that is such a support network that I think people will be very pleasantly surprised if they participate. Can someone participate without riding a bike?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've got several ways you can participate of the ride, which will be at Land Grant Brewing. You're welcome to join us and listen to Blue Spectrum as they play. Music will be starting at around 4:30, and that's open to the public. It's a free show, so anybody who's in town and available, come on down. We also have volunteer opportunities, which you can find out more on our website about that. And if you happen to be out of town and happen to be listening or have found us on social media, we do have some donation opportunities coming up, which is also detailed on the website. So donations will get t-shirts and swag bags and all that kind of fun stuff.
Awesome, awesome. And that website is?
The website is www.pumpkinpeddler.com, and that's PEDALER.com.
Right. And are there other ways for them to get in contact with you?
Absolutely. Our phone number is 614-238-8300. We're found on social media. Most of the major platforms we're at Pumpkin Peddler, and we can also be reached by email. Basically, anything at Pumpkin Peddler will get in touch with us. Ichabod at Pumpkin Peddler is the primary email account.
That was my next question. So is Ichabod your mascot, or is Ichabod you?
Yes.
Love it.
To take the cheap answer there. Ichabod, yeah, our first year we had a very strong Ichabod and Ichabod crane shtick, and that's kind of stuck. So it is our mascot, but it also, I kind of act as the mascot as well.
I love that. And that's one of your emails, Ichabod at pumpkinpeddler.com.
Absolutely.
So if they want to talk to Ichabod, that's what they need to do.
That's right.
How did you come up with the idea, first of all, to name it the Pumpkin Peddler, to make it in October, and to kind of tie it in to Sleepy Hollow and all of that all those icons?
Well, our daughter's favorite holiday is and has been Halloween. We got very, very lucky our first year, and it was nothing more than dumb luck. I don't want to say that I planned it out,
Okay.
but Halloween happened to be on a Saturday, and it worked out that there really weren't any other major events. So that first year we got very, very lucky. The second year and going forward, we've had the event on a Saturday, or a Sunday rather, just to avoid some of the other events that are going on in Columbus. So.
I've read about that. It was definitely meant to be because it was a Saturday and there wasn't a Buckeye football game
That's
going
absolutely
on.
right,
So that's
yeah.
incredible. What a great way to kick it off, so to speak. So I want to take a moment for our sponsors again, and give you guys a little bit more information, and then we'll be back with John.
Good job.
At age 47, Marco finished his high school diploma.
50% of getting your high school diploma is walking through those doors. The other 50% is from your work.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you are thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have the Federal Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Okay, man.
All right, stand by.
Caregiver, driving the physical therapy, doctor's appointment. If you're emotionally and physically, don't ever give up.
Oh, thank you. We are back. I'm so excited about this program, but I also want people to realize how important it is to be informed about autism and how it affects our society. The numbers are staggering. I mean, like I mentioned before, the CDC says 1 out of 59 children are affected in some way. And it's grown, and it's twice as common in boys. In fact, it's actually 4 times as common in boys than girls, but it does affect girls like your daughter. And getting early intervention is just vital. And so we need to get the word out. We need to let people know. And we also need to let them know what to look for so they can get their child diagnosed as soon as possible. Because that early intervention can make all the difference in the world. And we basically, you're doing fundraising to help with early intervention, with advocacy, I mean, all kinds of things, correct?
All kinds of things. Each year that we've done the ride, we've had a different theme. So this year's theme, we're fundraising for autism in the arts. Last year we did autism transitioning, so as children become young adults and even into their later adulthood, how they can find their place in the workforce. And the second year we were advocating for the House Bill 350, which
Right.
we were able to get passed, not us personally, but the state of Ohio was able to pass, which provided much needed insurance reform for autism.
Right.
So yeah.
That passed in December of 2016, and basically it mandated autism coverage for insurance programs in Ohio, which ended up closing that loophole and allowed us to get just therapies and supports for our families, which people have no idea. They're so expensive. The average person can't afford them, so that was very, very important. And for a long time, insurance just didn't cover it. You were just on your own, so thank you for that. I know it wasn't just you guys, but you guys were very instrumental in helping with that. I wanted to ask you a few more questions about the event.
Sure.
It's in October. Have you considered doing it in other months as well?
We have had some talk about having a similar event, like a 5K, and doing that in the spring. That way we'd have, one about every 6 months. So certainly something that's on our radar. But
Okay.
to put on the event that we do in October, it's kind of an all-year planning
I'm sure.
session. Yeah, so it takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort just to put on the one. So
I know.
hopefully down the road we'll have more opportunities.
Okay. I always ask this question, what was one of the most difficult things about getting this off the ground, so to speak?
Well, for us, I would say our biggest obstacle in year one was getting set up. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, so going through that process was very difficult. It's not something where you just fill out a one-page form and mail it
Right.
in. It's a very involved process, and we were very fortunate to have some help from our board members in that process. So that was probably the toughest. And then, really one of the things that continues to be a struggle for us and for a lot of smaller nonprofits is just getting the word out about our mission, about our event, and about what folks can do to help us out
Right.
and support the mission.
Right. And there are 6 different points to stop at during the tour. The Brewdog in Franklinton, Bake Me Happy, the North Market, Mikey's Late Night Slice, the Brothers Drake Meadery, and Sweet Carrot, correct?
Absolutely, and every year I say that this is the best lineup of stops that we've had, and this year I really do mean it. Thank all of our hosts, particularly the folks at Brothers Drake, who are normally closed on Sundays, and when they heard about what our ride does and what it means for, they've offered to open up
That's wonderful.
for the time of the ride. So, special thank you to them, and then to Land Grant and North Market, who have been with us all 4 years, and to all of the hosts, because they're opening the doors and saying, hey, we'll let some bicyclists come in and crash our party for a stop. So,
Right.
very
That's,
big thank you.
what are some of the special things that are going on at all these different individual venues while the bike ride is going on?
Well, the way our ride works, it's for those of you who are familiar with a poker run, it's a poker run on bicycles. For those of you who are not, at each one of the stops, the riders will draw a card, and then at the very end, the rider that's got the best poker hand will win the grand prize, which this year, again, is a new bicycle from the State Bicycle Company, and thank you to them for supporting us the past 3 years. And then, we do have drink specials at a lot of the stops. They're open for regular business, so the riders are welcome to, stop and have a bite to eat. We try to feature a variety of food and drink. That way, folks can have an opportunity to sample a little bit of what our city has to offer.
Okay. Is there an age range for participants?
You must be at least 13.
Okay.
And really, we see everybody from that 13-year-old mark all the way up to retirees. So it's, again, with it being a casual bike ride and with it being, in the 15-mile range, which for some is quite long, but for others is not.
Right.
It's something that's very achievable for anybody in just about any age range. So we see a very diverse crowd at the ride each year.
That's awesome. I love the community-based aspects of this. Something that I found really fascinating was that you guys have partnered with Lime Bike. So if someone doesn't have a bike, they can still participate and use a bike. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, that's absolutely right. I'm sure listeners have seen the little green bikes and also the scooters popping up across Columbus, and the folks at Lime Bike have very generously offered to donate a daily rental to anybody who wants to participate in the ride but doesn't have a bike. So when folks go to the website and register, there is an opportunity for them to check a box saying they need a Lime Bike, and we'll make sure we've got one there for them.
Wow, that is awesome. When I mentioned all the venues, I didn't mention the last one, which is Land Grant Brewing. You did, and that one's particularly favorite to me because that's where Blue Spectrum's going to be playing. So that's my son's band. 2 members of the band are on the autism spectrum, but they play all over. They play all over Ohio, and they play all over the nation, actually, lately. So we're very, very excited. What other things would you like to know, people to know about the autism community and the things you're trying to accomplish with the Pumpkin Peddler?
Well, first of all, just very briefly about the autism community, I can't say enough good things about Columbus's autism community. Very, very inclusive of all folks on the spectrum and their families. When we first got our diagnosis, you know, I think like a lot of folks, we were looking for answers, and we were able to find them pretty easily in Columbus, and you know, I'm very thankful to the community here. And I think a lot of that's driven by the wonderful medical facilities we have here in the city, and the base that we've got for that. So a very big thank you to that. As I briefly mentioned, this year our benefactor is going to be Arts in the Autism Community. Specifically Alicia Vanderelli, the owner and curator of the Vanderelli Room in Franklinton. For those of you that don't know, in addition to being a gifted artist, for the past few years, Alicia's been working with a young man on the autism spectrum with his art, and she's looking to take the programming that she's doing with that artist and turn it into more regular programming for other young people on the autism spectrum. So we're very, very happy to partner with her this year and make sure that she's got the funding that she needs to make that dream a reality.
That's great. And her venue's called the Vanderelli Room, correct?
That's correct. It's at the corner of McDowell and Rich Street in Franklinton, kind of catty corner to the big 400 West Ridge complex.
Right, and she does so much. She's an artist herself, and doesn't she have showings and things? And
she does. Her gallery is open to the public, and she has regular showings there. She's been a huge force in the art community, particularly in Franklinton. She's one of the founding members of the Artist Wrestling League, which, if you haven't heard of, I invite you to dig in a little deeper. It's a great group of folks that does some great things in the arts community. She's a regular at the Urban Scrawl in Franklinton.
Right.
Basically, if there's an arts exhibit in Franklinton, Alicia Vanderelli's not far behind.
so, did I hear you correctly? The Artist Wrestling League?
That's right, and it is exactly as its name would indicate. It's a group of artists in the Franklinton area primarily that have wrestling matches. So it's very interesting to watch, and again, I would invite listeners to dig a little deeper there, and if you haven't had the opportunity to see it live, make some time in your day to make that happen.
Wow. Well, Franklinton is just exploding. I am thrilled to live in a community that has so many different things going on, and there's been more and more research and investigation about the effect of the arts on people with disabilities and autism specifically. I know with our story, music has changed our lives and changed my son's life, so we are so grateful for that. We want to take another quick moment for another word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Doing good.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
I'm voting in the midterm elections because my constitutional right is my ancestors died.
To make it ready for my children, the women before me fought.
So we can remain free, helping the community now turn election.
If you vote makes me my opinion matter.
10 seconds, stand by.
In the midterm election.
We are back with the Spin with Gwen, and like I said before, we are powered by Believe Radio and City Talk News, and you can follow us at Believe Live on Facebook. That's BLEV Live on Facebook, or Believe, BELIEVE Live. And you can even call us in with questions if you have about Pumpkin Peddler, for John, for myself, at 614-824-2139. I just wanted to get back to the subject of autism, because although people are starting to hear more, it's really serious, and it just underscores how important organizations and events like yours. Right now, they say 1% of the world's population has an autism spectrum disorder. 1%. That's a lot of people, you guys. Like we said before, 1 out of 59. And currently, they think there's more than 3.5 million Americans living with an autism spectrum disorder. And the lifelong care costs are overwhelming. But if you can get early intervention and help, it's estimated that you can cut those down to 2/3. So it helps everyone. Of course, it helps the families dealing with autism, but it helps our community as a whole if we can jump on that early. I mean, there's a lot of things to look for. If you have a young child and you're concerned, get that diagnosis. That makes all the difference in the world. I know it's kind of scary, but if you can get that diagnosis, you can get money, quite frankly, to help you with those therapies. And there's things to look for with the diagnosis. One of the things is lack or a delay in spoken language, a repetitive use of language, or motor mannerisms like hand flapping or twirling objects, little or no eye contact, lack of interest in peer relationships, a lack of spontaneous or make-believe play, or even a persistent fixation on parts or objects. But it's a very broad spectrum. And there's a famous saying, they said, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person. That's true. But if you can get that early intervention, but I got to tell you, I've met a number of people who didn't get diagnosed until well into adulthood, probably because we know so much more now than we did 20, 30 years ago. But getting that intervention, and quite frankly, isn't that the human condition that, I mean, all of our children need to go to school. It's the law, because they need that. We all need assistance, and it just makes our community better, and everyone can offer. Because a lot of times these young people and adults with autism are gifted, and they can offer so much, but they need that help to develop their gifts. So tell me the details about the Pumpkin Peddler again. What's the date and the time?
Pumpkin Peddler this year will be Sunday, October 28th. Pedals up at noon, but for folks that would want to register the day of the event, we start live registration at 11 o'clock at Brewdog. So, and they will be open at 11. So anybody that wants to register, get there early. You'll have an opportunity to sit down and have a drink, and then start the ride at noon.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And the website that they can find more information at?
Website is www.pumpkinpeddler.com, and that's PEDALER.
That's good. And the phone number they could call?
Our phone number is 614-238-8300.
Wow. So I always try to get a little deep when I'm talking to people. I attempt. But I know I have learned so much since my son's diagnosis, and it's changed our lives, and I think it's made me a better person. What is the biggest lesson that you think you and possibly your wife have learned since the diagnosis and since getting involved with our community?
I would say our biggest lesson is patience. and
Right.
I would say, any autism parent would agree with that statement, that patience is something that you just have to develop. Our daughter is unbelievably stubborn, and it doesn't get any better, I'm sure. So just the patience to go through the process, go through, if she's in a class and they make recommendations about how we should handle her reactions to the world, making sure that we're doing the right thing, because it's very easy to get as frustrated as she is, and that doesn't help anybody, because then the situation just escalates. So
That's
definitely patience.
absolutely. My husband often says that the diagnosis made us better people, made us better parents, made him a better person. I guess I shouldn't speak for him. And I got to tell you, it's been a challenge at times, but there are definitely things about my son, with all his quirks, that I absolutely love and I appreciate, and I think they add to our community as a whole. And that's the way I want people to look at it. and realize. So I am so excited to about your event, October 28th, correct?
That's right.
And I hope people really look into your website and find out more about Pumpkin Peddler, find out more about autism. If they have any questions, they can check on my Facebook page. This is being transmitted on Facebook Live, and we are never put off by questions. I mean, it just helps us learn. I want to remind everyone that my son's band, Blue Spectrum, will be playing at the event. And do you have any final words?
Well, again, you hit on it there. Blue Spectrum will be playing at Land Grant at the end of the event. That part of the event is open to anybody. It's a free show, and I'll give Zane a plug that I don't know that Gwen necessarily would. He is an absolutely gifted guitarist, not just for someone as old as he is, not just for someone who's been playing for such a short period of time. He's just amazing. So if you haven't seen him or Blue Spectrum, I invite you to make time on a Sunday afternoon to come out and see them. It'll be a great show.
Thank you. And really, his story ties into your message about the arts and autism. I shudder to think if we hadn't been able to get him a little bit of music therapy and follow up on that, I don't know where he'd be. He's a different person. He's a happy, well-adjusted young adult because he's doing what he loves.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you again, John, for joining us. I want to remind you this is The Spin with Gwen. And we're so happy you joined us on the show today. We have a Facebook and Twitter page at Believe614, at BLEV614, or Believe Live. And please feel free to ask any questions there, to follow up, give us your comments. We want to know what you're thinking. I mean, this is a really important topic, autism and the disability in our world. I mean, we want to be an inclusive community, and I mean, I've been astounded by what Living Out Loud has done. I mean, a lot of times when people first get this diagnosis, and I've had people tell me, they're like, why do you tell people and hide it and be ashamed? But I have been overwhelmed by the kindness and the generosity from people when they found out what's really going on. And I tell you, like I said, a chill goes down my back if we had chosen a different route, which we could have easily done. It's not like we magically got this diagnosis and like, okay, we're going to do this. I don't know if that was your experience.
Well, our daughter was diagnosed, or her kindergarten teacher is actually the one that said, hey, you may want to have her tested for autism. So a big thank you to her for that, because I don't know where we would have been had we not had that. But, definitely, the path that we've chosen is one that I'm happy with.
That's wonderful. And one other thing I wanted to add, when we went to the Pumpkin Peddler before, there were so many people in our community. There were teachers and people from different schools and different therapies, and that's another thing that's so helpful if you're dealing with that diagnosis and you want information, coming to these events and just talking to people. It's there's so much information. So I want to thank everyone again for joining us at the Spin with Gwen. Next week, we're going to have Monica Guidry here with her show In the Heart of It All. It's every other Wednesday at 11 a.m. on 1580 AM and 92.9 FM. Again, have a wonderful Wednesday, everybody. Take care.